On the day of the reception mentioned above, shortly before the guests began arriving, the hostess and Artemy went out into the hall and settled into the wide, cushioned armchairs. The aunt had just shown her nephew the decorations and was tired. She wore a flashy outfit, exposing her torso and arms covered in jewels. Artemy, the handsome 23-year-old, also looked elegant. He wore shoes with socks, a blue velvet shirt, a waistcoat, and gold-embroidered sequins, expensive lace cuffs and cuffs, a wig adorned with a fine sword, and a handsome sword at his waist. The outfit suited his tall, slender figure, while his aunt rested, fanning her flushed face. He surveyed the room. "How do you like it, Artemy? Did you like my furniture and overall decor, in keeping with the latest trends? Don't you think it was a good idea to combine the 2 bedrooms into one space? It turned out to be a beautiful ballroom. I'm simply fascinated by what I saw. You managed to make the most of this horrible structure. As for the decoration of the ballroom, it is splendid. The curtains and cupids are wonderful. Your refined taste is evident in everything. Likewise, your outfit with ruby pendants and buckles is incredible and looks great on you." Flattered and pleased with the compliment, Anna Petrovna patted him lightly on the cheek. "You flatterer. I'm not flattering you. I envy you for being able to express your good taste," Artemy replied, sighing and betraying his pent-up displeasure. "What I wouldn't give to arrange our house your way. But go tell my father that. If you only knew how much he scolded me for being in love with Matilda. He called her a slob and an ignoble stranger, and threatened to disinherit me if I dared marry her. What are we to do with a man like that, incapable of understanding the benefits of progress? Only a blind man could deny that we are savage barbarians and need mentors to impart knowledge and make us human. Father is obtuse-minded. Oh, I fear that he, with his stubbornness, is ruining my fortune." Artemy's eyes flashed with anger, his fists clenched. "True. Danilo will end up ruining us all," Anna Petrovna said worriedly. "I even thought that, for his sake and ours, we should send him far away from here. Send him to some distant estate. Maybe the Germans will help us. What do you think? We must try." At his Aunt S.'s last words, Artemy perked up, and a sly smile appeared on his face. "You rewrite, Annie. What a sharp mind you have." He enthused, kissing her hand. "Do that, my dear, and you'll make us all happy. And I'll be doing Gleb Mihailovich a favor at the same time. Let those old-timers live together like in the days of the Pechenegs," he concluded aloud, bursting into a scornful laugh. Anna Petrovna also pebbled, and they both laughed until they were tired. "Where's Elena?" Artemy suddenly asked, worried. "I hope her father doesn't delay her at the last minute." "Don't worry. She is in my room, rehearsing the minuet with Francina. Danila thinks she is safe because I invited Gleb. My God, how annoying. He'll be a hindrance to Dorf game." Artemy interrupted angrily. "What to do? I had to invite him. But don't worry, I made my arrangements. Yesterday Lena spent the whole day here, and I, not being an idiot, sent for Dorfgame and gave him complete freedom to flirt with our young chase woman. The Baron wasted no time and was wonderfully charming. He had the idea of teaching her the minuet, and they danced for about 2 hours. The Baron's persistence and kindness finally won over the demure young woman. As he said goodbye, he kissed her hand several times, and she, following my advice, offered the Baron a rose that adorned her bodice. I believe that tonight he will make her a proposal, and if she accepts, TSSS, she is coming." At that moment, Elena appeared in the doorway of the hall. She wore a satin dress trimmed in gold gauze, lace, and rose embroidery. Flushed with excitement and continuing to dance the minuet, she approached her aunt and brother and bowed elegantly. "Look how well I already know how to bow," she boasted. "You read as soft and light as a butterfly, Lena. Don't forget the steps of the minuet." "No, Annie. I just went over the steps with Francina. My God, she is so kind and attentive. How I wish I had a French maid like that." "I completely share your desire," Artemy intervened. "That rabble of dads who flooded our house is disgusting. They read more like cattle, dirty and rude. What I wouldn't give to avoid seeing those brutes, Anton and Ilya, and hire a French servant. Just imagine the pleasure of having a superior servant. with decorous manners, with whom you can even converse. Yes, like this Francina, a true lady, you might say. But I would never part with our old Ilya, no matter how much I'd like to have a French maid. Artemy burst out laughing. I'm giving you Ilya as a gift, since you like him so much. What I wanted was to have a house like this. You could have your own house if you wanted. Of course. I just don't know how it can depend on me. Oh, you clever girl, remarked Anna Petrovna, shaking her finger. You want to convince us that you don't know that Baron Dorfgame is in love with you, and after seeing you like this, today, you will completely lose your mind. Confess. Do you like the Baron? He is very kind and flirted with me, but he's very thin and restless, and seems to be always dancing. Anyway, he's not as handsome as Gleb Mihailovich. TSS, what a comparison, Anna Petrovna exclaimed. Are you blind, Latochka? Your well-fed, ruddy Gleb Mihailovich is simply a peasant, a bear, while the Baron, with his charming pallor, full of delicate grace and chivalrous manners, is a model of a nobleman. You should thank God if he sends you such a charming and refined man as a husband. Or would you prefer to live cloistered with a vulgar husband who will treat you like a prisoner, constantly threatening you with his fists, as soon as you become his wife? Elena's cheeks burned, and her impressive face reflected a wrenching internal struggle caused by her Aunt S words. She had no time to respond, for at that moment the first guest appeared, and Anna Petrovna hurried to greet them. Soon the ballroom and boudoir filled with a colorful and diverse crowd. Among the gentlemen were a French barber, a German tailor, 2 unknown Italians, some robust Dutch merchants, and a small group of Germans who had already secured advantageous administrative posts. The rest of the guests consisted of fashionable Russians with their ladies dressed in Western garb. Anna Petrovna looked blissfully ecstatic, was full of praise for the renovation of the house. The women, especially, impressed by the refined taste, all amazed by the richness of the furniture, and praising the general decoration of the house. Truly, my dear, your salon is wonderful, and nothing breaks its harmony. Even the servants in wigs are dressed in new clothes. It feels like we're in the house of some courtesan. From the court of Versailles, an old noblewoman kept talking, all rouge, powdered and naked as fashion dictated. Anna Petrovna blushed with pleasure, and signaled with her hand for a small, agile gentleman of Italian appearance to come over to them. I present to you Salomonia Antonovna, Mr. Opino Tripetti, the sorcerer who helped transform my Baroness den into what you see. Visibly flattered, the Italian bowed deeply. Its enormous culture made it easy for me to transform an old house into a modern palace, where we felt ease, forgetting that we were in a still, wild country. Oh, very wild. Please don't be ashamed, Mr. Tripetti. Anna Petrovna encouraged him, laughing with satisfaction. Meanwhile, a new guest entered the boudoir. He was a man of about 30, thin, with an attractive face. But life, probably impetuous, had aged him prematurely, and the intense flush on his cheeks could not hide the premature wrinkles on his withered face, mottling his forehead, temples, and the corners of his mouth. He was elegantly dressed, and immediately approached the hostess with quick steps and strange gestures, sometimes also fashionable. I am certain, he said, smiling and respectfully kissing Anna Petrovna's hand, that the times of barbarism passed from the moment women, those geniuses of grace and elegance, abandoned their cloisters, freed themselves from slavery, and cast off the clumsy garments that hid their beauty. From that moment, I repeat, the path to civilization is open. Oh, the dear Baron is always so kind. You are right. The air of freedom and light is beginning to penetrate this musty cellar called Russia. In times gone by, unfortunately, foreigners were afraid to come here, but now their entry is free, and they are our dear teachers and guests. Only now do we understand that they spread light and freedom, and thanks to God, they're beginning to do good to our bear's den, Anna Petrovna observed. Dorfgame responded with another compliment. But at that moment, he spotted Elena among a group of ladies, went to her, and invited her to the minuet, whose prelude began to be played by the orchestra. Offering her his hand, he led her into the ballroom. No sooner had the first dance ended than the servants began offering refreshments. Meanwhile, Gleb Mihailovich appeared at the door of the boudoir. His luxurious caftan, trimmed with sable and embroidered with precious stones, looked incredibly good on his tall, graceful figure. Surrounded by guests, Anna Petrovna gave him a hostile look and responded with a slight nod to the young boyar's respectful bow. To the question, "Where was Elena?" she replied carelessly, "I don't know, maybe in the ballroom." She had just finished dancing and was chatting with the ladies. Watching Gleb's departure with a hostile look, the hostess addressed Solomonia Antonovna. "Has anyone ever seen such a fool?" She buzzed scathingly. "He doesn't even know that when greeting the lady of the house, he should kiss her hand. How strange." "There's nothing strange about this. He is my brother as godson, a limited person. There's no way to teach him good manners. Going against the spirit of the times and embarrassing our friends. Foreign masters. This brute came in barbarian garb, trimmed with fur, wearing knee-high boots, as if he were going to the stable. Dear friends, I ask you to be lenient with this savage if he indulges in something he should end." The hostess was visibly angry, and only the persuasions of the guests, who promised her that no one would care about the behavior of the wild young man, calmed her down a bit, and she cheered up. After the dance, Dorfgame took his lady to the adjoining room, where there were fewer people, and began serving her sweets and pastries, showering her with pleasantries. Unaccustomed to this kind of courtship, Elena was captivated and involuntarily surrendered to the gentleman of seduction. Suddenly, she became disturbed and pale when she heard Gleb's sonorous voice, who was probably looking for her. Taking advantage of the Baron's absence, who had gone to get a glass of orchad, she got up and ran to the next room, empty at that moment, which was her aunt's new powder room. Locking the door, alarmed, Elena listened carefully. "Gleb must be looking for me," she thought. "What a shame. He has never seen me dressed like this. What will he say?" She looked at herself uneasily in the mirror, lit by candles at the sides, moved closer, and began to examine herself scrupulously. "I think he'll like me. Everyone says the dress suits me," she whispered in a low voice. "And they tell the truth. You are as beautiful as Venus," a voice hissed near her ear. Elena shivered, turned quickly, so that the fan slipped from her trembling hands, and caught the Baroness' burning gaze, as he leaned toward her with a smile of sweet amiability. Dorfgame lifted the fan and, kneeling, held it out to her. Then he took her hand and led her to an armchair. "Why did the prom queen come hide here?" he scolded. "Are you running away from me? How cruel you are, Fräulein Elena. You know I'm dying of love for you, and yet my sufferings don't move you. Tell me something that will give me hope for happiness." Elena was disturbed and looked at him in surprise. "What can I tell you, Baron? You must know that I am already engaged to another man," she stammered. "I know, but while the church hasn't tied them together, you have time to give up if this marriage is aversive to you. What fate? What awaits you in this savage land, where a woman is considered a slave, languishes in a dungeon, deformed by monstrous garments? What life will you lead here, wasting away, withering like a flower without sun or water, in my homeland, a free nation, my wonderful castle Thuringen, or at the court of the Duke, my wealthy protector? You will enjoy the honors and veneration that your intelligence and beauty deserve. Compare. While on the one hand you will be doomed to be the wife of a vulgar and uneducated man, to whom you will be nothing more than a prisoner or servant. On the other, however, you will be united to a man who will be your slave, and your every whim will be a law. I will venerate you as a divinity." He was carried away by his verve, and continued to seduce her with his speech. Elena seemed hesitant, and didn't even pull away the hand he grabbed, covering her with kisses. "What you tell me, Baron, is fair and may even happen. However, there's an insurmountable barrier. My father, who will never accept me marrying a foreigner," Elena said in a hesitant, disturbed tone. "I know it will be a difficult struggle, but we cannot despair. Be strong. We will appeal to the Tsar's mercy. He, in his obstinacy to break down the old and barbaric prejudices of the people, will know how to consolidate our happiness. My friends have already sounded the ground, and I have hopeful hopes. My beloved Fräulein Elena," he exclaimed, kneeling, "promise to be my wife, and tomorrow I will personally speak to the Tsar to beg him." At that moment, Anna Petrovna's voice was heard in the next room. "I really don't know, Gleb Mihailovich, where she could have gone. Could she have hidden in the wardrobe? She must have fled in shame. seeing your peasant clothes. Startled, Elena stiffened and made the Baron stand up. Get out quickly. I don't want my fiancé to see us together. Agile, stealthily sneaking like a cat, Dorfgaemda disappeared at the back of the room like a shadow. Elena was surprised. She understood his thief, like ways, and followed him with a suspicious look. At that moment, her aunt and Gleb entered through another door. Elena's attention was drawn to her fiancé, who stood there, frowning angrily at her. Here she is. I'll leave you two alone, as I have to look after the guests, Anna Petrovna said with the disdain she always showed Gleb Mihailovich, and left. An oppressive silence fell. Distraught, pale, and downcast, Elena played mechanically with her fan. Gleb continued to examine her, then moved closer. Is that you, Elena Danilovna? He blurted out in a trembling voice. I don't believe it. And aren't you ashamed to appear in such an outfit before everyone? Elena said nothing, and just wiped her reddened complexion with her handkerchief. Indeed, new times have come, Gleb continued sternly. Foreigners rule here more than the Opretniki. They've driven our mothers, wives, and sisters out of their homes. And before any misdeed was a cause for shame or dishonor, today it is considered good form. Allow me to ask you a question. Could you imagine your illustrious mother, Varvara Borisovna, wearing a short skirt, a tight bodice, and baring her arms and breasts, among a band of adventurers? I say adventurers because honest people who could live with dignity in their native land wouldn't, believe me, go looking for adventure and profit in a foreign land. The mention of her mother shook Elena. The tall, graceful woman in a showy outfit, with a clear, serene gaze, appeared in her memory. Mother here in this outfit? Of course. I see and imagine her like this. I beg you, Gleb Mihailovich, to evoke her or disturb her mortal remains. You forbid me to evoke Varvara Borisovna? Then you feel that it would be an affront to her memory to simply include the noble figure of the princess, respected by all, among the shameless and comical scum gathered here. And how can you, being the daughter of the same Varvara Borisovna and Prince Nila Petrovich, aren't you embarrassed by your presence here, dressed like a gypsy? I do as other noble women and boyars do. Foreigners are our teachers. They disseminate to us the foundations of culture that their countries have in abundance. They try to eradicate our savage and vulgar customs. Elena retorted, offended. They spread, but they introduce seductions of luxury and useless whims beyond measure. God knows I do not deny the need for transformations. But do you, Elena Danilovna, consider us so stupid, and her voice sounded mocking, that we cannot ourselves, without foreign influence, remake what is obsolete or assimilate what is useful and good, without uprooting like weeds all the traditions consecrated by our ancestors, which made Russia great and strong. Well, let us leave that for later, for I have more important matters to discuss with you. He walked over and squeezed Elena's hand tightly. I want to know if what Anna Petrovna said is true, that you are ashamed of me. Be honest. As bitter as it may be, I prefer the truth to the torture of doubt. And tell me honestly if you love me, as you announced 6 months ago when we were engaged, or do you no longer tolerate me, because I wear the clothes of my beloved country and do not bow down to adventurers? Speak. As painful as it may be, you can reconsider your word. I want to love and respect a wife, not some buffoon like your aunt or the monkeys who dance to the music of foreigners, half naked. Speak and decide. Elena stared awkwardly at her fiancé's handsome, lively face, his sparkling eyes, and his tall, slender figure. Her heart stirred with the old love she had felt for Gleb and her seduction for him. I certainly love you, Gleb Mihailovich, and I prefer you to a foreigner. Only, aren't you going to lock me up in a dungeon where I'll suffer as your prisoner or slave? I don't want that, because I've already tasted freedom, Elena stammered, blushing.